HMS Bounty. This is BlueBrixx set 108934. It was released in February 2026 for about 120 euros. This construction block set consists of 2,976 pieces, which are compatible to bricks by other building blocks companies like Lego, Kobe, Fantasy, and so on. As the name already suggests, this set depicts the British 18th century sailing ship Bounty, which is most famous for its mutinying crew. As you can see, this is a BlueBrixx special set, and yeah, this means we only get a rather boring box, but we don't really care about the box, right? For us it is important what we find inside this box. It's a typical BlueBrixx special set, which means there are no building sections. The pieces come more or less unsorted in unnumbered bags. I recommend to sort all the pieces by type before you start with the building process, because otherwise, with an amount of almost 3,000 pieces, it would just take too much time to search for the right brick at each building step. I also recommend to sort your pieces in such a way that you can simply place them somewhere else if necessary, because I think you won't be able to complete the set in one single building session, so maybe you don't want to have an occupied table in between the building sessions. Okay, so besides the pieces in their bags, we also get cloth sails, which are protected in these pieces of cardboard here. And yeah, when we have a look in there, you can see that there are our sails also protected in bags. For some reason, there are stickers on these cardboards which mention the Governor's Island set. I guess BlueBrixx simply used the same pieces for the Bounty and for their Governor's Island Admiralty frigate. But I don't really know. This is just some kind of educated guess. Well, okay, as a BlueBrixx special set, this set does not come with printed building instructions. We have to download a PDF file from the BlueBrixx website, and it's quite huge, about half a gigabyte. Alright, I'm going to sort all my pieces now, and after that I will start with step 1. I will come back to you as soon as I see something interesting or something simply doesn't work as shown in the instructions. Just 2 more things before we start with the building process. So I have sorted all my pieces by type, and while doing so I stumbled upon a bag on which there is a sticker with replacement printed on it. This means we are supposed to use these pieces here instead of other pieces. I guess it's those pieces here. And to be honest, I can't see any difference between these pieces here and the replacement pieces. The only difference I can see is that some of the pieces have the injection hole on another side, on another stud, but this can't be the reason. The clips seem to be identical. I can't see a difference there. And I also can't see a difference on the pieces' undersides. I don't know. But well, the bag says replacement, so I'm not going to use these pieces here. I'm going to use those pieces. And the other thing is that I also stumbled upon quite a few pieces which I haven't seen before. I always wondered how BlueBrixx got away with using some pieces which are still protected by the Lego company. I always thought maybe they have some kind of deal with the Lego company, but it seems in the end they didn't. They simply used those pieces even though they were not allowed to use them. Not long ago, just a few months ago, BlueBrixx lost in court against the Lego company, and yeah, were ruled to not use protected pieces any longer. There is a database which lists all protected designs in Europe, and there you can find all the protected Lego pieces. But last year also BlueBrixx added some pieces to that database. So they now also have some protected designs. And I want to show you some of those pieces right now, because this set comes with quite a few of them. So, for example, we got a 2x2 plate with cut corner that you can see, unlike the Lego piece, this piece here comes with open studs, and there's also a hole instead of one of the studs. What else do we have? Then we got this plate modified here. It looks not exactly the same as the Lego piece. So this piece here has got open studs and a hole in the middle, which, yeah, the Lego piece simply doesn't have. What else do we have here? We got this plate modified here, with also comes with open studs. Well, I think the Lego piece also doesn't have closed studs, but the studs are not as open as here. You can look through the studs, and this really isn't the case with the Lego piece. And I'm not sure, maybe this isn't supposed to be an injection hole, maybe this is even part of the protected design. Then we got jumper plates. They come with the groove around the stud in the middle. The Lego piece doesn't have this groove. Then we got these pieces here. I think the Lego pieces do not have open studs. I'm not sure about that. Then we got a little slope, this 1x2 slope, and yeah, it got these cut corners here, at least on its underside, which is not the case with the Lego piece. This piece here comes with open studs and also these, I don't know how to call them. They look a bit like injection holes, but they aren't. Those are just little cutouts. I don't know how to call these holes, which aren't really complete holes. But it differs slightly from the Lego piece. What else? We got this curved slope here, and I think the Lego piece is a bit thicker at this position here. So when we add a 1x2 plate to it, then it looks like the Lego piece. So this piece is simply the Lego piece with out a 1x2 plate down here. We also get something similar with this piece here. So you can see those two studs here in the front aren't really completely attached to the plate. The Lego piece looks a bit like this. And I think now you can recognize what kind of piece this is. We got 1x1 round plates with open stud. For some reason, 1x1 round plates with closed stud are not protected, but those with open studs are still protected. And yeah, this piece here comes with a groove around the stud, which the Lego piece doesn't have. And then there is one piece which I really don't like. I can live with all the other pieces. We can use them instead of Lego pieces. Maybe this here's a bit critical. You maybe can't always cover this hole here, but I think something like this here is absolutely alright. You simply use two pieces, you combine two pieces to get a piece which looks like the Lego piece. But then we got the telescope here, and this is annoying. It doesn't look like a telescope at all now. I don't like this piece, and this is a piece we often can't really hide. It's a piece which is used in a lot of architecture sets, and yeah, it's a piece which often is visible because, yeah, it represents a column or something like that, some pillar. And this is how the Lego pieces look like. So there is a weird difference. I'm fine with all the other pieces, but I'm really annoyed about this piece here. Sadly, I do not have enough brown Lego telescopes, so I would use Lego pieces instead of these pieces here, but yeah, I can't do anything against it. Oh, and then we also get these single studs here, but those are pieces which are used in a lot of BlueBrixx sets. They have always been used, and I think also Kobe is quite known for using these pieces. They are used to invert or revert the building direction, but this is a building technique which I'm going to show you during the building process. Alright, then I think now it's time to start with the build. Oh, there are even some more pieces I forgot to mention. So we get these wedge tiles here. Those are 2x4 wedges, but unlike the Lego pieces, they do not come with studs. Those are only tiles. Then we got chairs, and well, when you look closely, you can see that the studs are on another position compared to the Lego chairs. The Lego chairs have the studs more towards the front. But since BlueBrixx minifigures have their anti-studs on another position, also the chairs needed to be modified, and because of that the studs are more towards the back. And yeah, because of that we sadly can't really place Lego minifigures on those chairs. Normally I would replace all the BlueBrixx chairs with regular Lego chairs, but since I'm not going to use minifigures for this build, and well, the chairs are all below deck anyways, you can't really see them until you open all the decks, I will, just ignore the BlueBrixx chairs. I will place the BlueBrixx chairs, but I won't think about them. And then I think this is the most interesting piece. We get this brick here with two studs to the side. When we add two 1x1 plates, You might recognize this little construction as a Lego piece you can see quite often. Yeah, do you recognize it now? That's quite a cool way to circumvent the design protection by Lego. Alright, but now it's really time to start with the building process. Step 8. Have a look, the step number is missing. And also we do not get the little box which lists all the pieces needed for the step. Well, at least this isn't really a complex step. We can simply have a look at the image. And there we can see that we only need 2 pieces. A 2x16 plate and a 2x14 plate. We are starting the building process with building the stand, by the way. Step 10. I think we already might have completed the stand. That was a quick experience. Well, okay. Then let's start building the ship itself. Step 16. We have started with building the ship's hull, but I'm not happy with the construction. Have a look here at these 2 pieces. When you push the pieces on this end here, you can see that they are not really interlocked with this huge part below. This is because, these pieces have a 1x2 gap on this side here. And you can clearly see that it doesn't touch the piece below on this side. There is an easy solution. I simply would use a 2x2 plate here, and then it should interlock with this part of this piece. But since I do not have an unused 2x2 plate in my collection, I'm simply going to use these 2 1x2 plates. They should do the job as well. And I hope that this solves my problem. Yeah, this is way better. Now the build is much more sturdy. Step 30. We have attached what we have built of the ship so far with the stand. But the ship looks still quite open from below, so I hope we will fix this in some later steps. Step 40. This build's designer took some decisions which appear to be rather strange, at least for me. For example, why are there these gaps? Why didn't we put 1x1 bricks in there? Maybe we're going to cover the hole later, but strange. And then over here, why did we use 1x2 round plates and not regular plates? And now we are going to add this segment here, like here. And once again, I'm not sure why we leave a gap here and also down here. So we could have simply used 3 bricks of the same length, but no, the lowest brick is a 1x10 brick. Is it? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, yeah. And the other 2 pieces are 1x12 bricks. But why didn't we simply use 3 1x12 bricks? I see no reason for this. Well, of course, the here in the gaps there isn't a stud, but there is enough space for the piece itself, so it simply wouldn't be interlocked, but it would be sturdy enough and it would hide those gaps here. Strange. I don't know. Step 51. I want to show you a few things before I can't show them to you later, because we are now going to cover this area here with these pieces, and I'm not sure if the camera can look through those holes properly. So what I think what is quite cool is that even below deck we can see a part of the mast. This is really cool. And then we also get this little treasure compartment here in the back. Well, I guess this isn't really accurate, but yeah, to play with the ship it's quite neat. Step 112. Here is another area below deck which we are going to make inaccessible now. You can see here is another part of a mast, but it won't be visible any longer because now we are putting this plate with all this attached stuff on it above the mast. Step 120. We are building the ship's sides, so we have built this bigger segment here, which we are going to connect with this side of the main build, and then we are going to build the same segment once again, just mirrored, which we are going to attach to the build's opposite side. As you can see, we have used quite a few of the BlueBrixx variation of a 2x2 plate modified with 2 studs to the side. By simply adding 1x2 plates to this piece, we get a little segment or a little construction which looks more or less identical to the Lego plate modified. Sadly, we are not going to do this. In the step, we are adding plates to this construction here, but not 1x2 plates. We are adding 2x12 plates like this, which means we get a construction which we can't simply recreate with only Lego pieces, and this is something I do not like. You can see here, if we want to recreate this with only Lego pieces, then we would need dual molded plate modifieds with a black part down here and a reddish brown part up here. This is stupid. I really don't like this. I prefer only building with standard pieces. And if the standard pieces or the Lego pieces are still protected, then I'm also fine with recreating these pieces by connecting several smaller pieces with each other. But doing something like this, which can't be recreated with Lego pieces or standard pieces, is just something I really do not like to do. Steps 173 and 174. We have to build a bed, but when we reach step 175, we can see that we are supposed to build 2 beds. For some reason we are not told this before. There should be a multiplier anywhere here, a multiplier by 2. Step 182. In this step we are using a building technique to invert the stud order. And it's a technique which, for example, the Lego company doesn't use. But I showed you this technique in quite a lot of my other videos about BlueBrixx sets, and I think also Kobe is known to use this technique. So what we are doing is that we want to get these single studs here, these only studs, these hollow studs, these Kobe studs, whatever you want to call them, in these anti-studs here of this plate. And we do this with the help of a bar, which we use as a tool. We stick the bar in the hollow stud, then we place that stud, or we connect it with the anti-stud, we interlock those things, And yeah, we push down the stat with a fingernail, and at the same time we release the bar. Let's do this with the other stat too. And now we have turned anti-stats into regular stats, to which we can attach stuff. For example, these tiles here. Oops. 1. And 2. Step 210. Do you remember that I was annoyed that we recreated 2x2 plate modifieds in such a way that we can't simply replace them with regular 2x2 Lego plate modifieds because of the two colors? Well, it turns out that the colors do not matter at all, because now we are going to cover the colors with these golden plates here. And yeah, this means it doesn't really matter if we got here brown pieces or not. We could also have used black plates instead of the brown plates, so yeah, you really can replace those pieces with Lego pieces if you want to, because you do not need dual molded pieces. The color doesn't matter at all. Step 213. We are making good progress in this step. Have a look here. We are going to place 38 of those huge bricks. Cool. Step 215. We are supposed to build 2 ladders and attach one on each side of the ship. So one ladder is supposed to go here, where this gap is, and the other ladder is supposed to be placed on the opposite side. The problem is that we need pieces for building the ladders, which somehow are missing. I can't find any of those 1x1 bricks with horizontal clip. We need 2 of those pieces for one ladder, so this means in total we need 4 of those pieces. And that's also the number which is shown in the instructions inventory list. Well, I will have to contact the BlueBrixx customer service so that they send me the missing pieces. Sadly, this will take several weeks, I guess. And I can't even order those pieces at Bricklink in the meantime, because Lego simply doesn't have the pieces in that color. Well, I will see if I can somehow circumvent the problem by using other pieces. Maybe I can find some of these pieces here in my collection which are not needed for the set, like these pieces here which came with the set. Or maybe I can also use a 1x1 plate version of this. I will have to see. The good news is that this isn't a problem I have to solve right now to be able to continue with the build, because you can see we got these gaps here and the ladders are simply attached by the clips like this to this handlebar here, which means I should be able to place the ladders anytime during the building process, maybe even after I have finished the build. So this is a problem for my later self. Step 237. We are going to close another part of the ship, and I just want to show you this part before it's too late to have a proper look inside with the camera. So you can see we got another ladder there in the back, and also, yeah, some kind of box, I think. You're able to open it, the lid of those things here. Let me see if we got a box where I can demonstrate this. Yeah, here, we can open it easily. And well, now I'm going to close this gap here, and I think it will be quite dark back there, and I'm not sure if I will be able to put the camera in here in a later step, so I just wanted to have you a look at it. Step 263. You remember these 1 by 1 by 1 2/3 brick modified with 2 stats on the side, which I showed you in the beginning? This is the BlueBrixx version, and yeah, as you can see, compared to the Lego variation, we are missing a plate on the top and also on the lower part. But when we place 1 by 1 plates there, it's not a problem at all. Then it's really identical to the Lego piece. Sadly, now we use the piece in such a way that we can't recreate this building technique with only Lego pieces. Have a look here. Here is the piece, here is a 1 by 1 plate, and also down here should be a 1 by 1 plate to make an equivalent to the Lego piece. But instead of a 1 by 1 plate in reddish brown, we use this golden piece here. It's a big plate, and yeah, you simply can't place the piece in such a position if it was a Lego piece. First of all, it would be too long, and second, you wouldn't be able to connect it, because yeah, otherwise you would have to place another plate below, and then the whole thing would be way bigger. And here we got the same problem also up here. Here once again we use the piece. Here's a 1 by 1 plate. This time we have placed one below, but we haven't placed a 1 by 1 plate on top of it. We have used this 1 by 4 plate to keep the piece in position. And yeah, once again we can't recreate this with only Lego pieces without modifying the whole construction. That's a shame. By the way, we also used another piece which the Lego company doesn't use and which we can't recreate in such a way with only Lego pieces. Have a look here. Here, this wedge. It's a wedge tile, and there are no Lego wedge tiles. But BlueBrixx, or I guess also several building blocks companies, have these wedge tiles. And if it wasn't a wedge tile, if it was a wedge plate, then we wouldn't be able to place other pieces sideways on top of it, like done here. Step 264. Okay, I think now it's quite obvious that BlueBrixx doesn't use their own molds only to replace protected pieces by the Lego company. They really use those pieces to achieve building techniques which you can't recreate with only Lego pieces. Have a look here at this 2 by 2 plate with cut corner, which I showed you in the beginning. And as I showed you, it comes with a hole instead of a third stat. We are not only using this piece as a normal 2 by 2 plate with cut corner. No, it's really important for our build that we got this hole here, because we want to place there a 1 by 1 plate, but upside down. Like this. And yeah, you can't do this with a Lego 2 by 2 plate with cut corner. Step 301. It's time to complete the ship's rear. So we have created this segment here, and now it's time to add it to the rest of the ship. You can see that we use, these hinge pieces to do so. It's kind of a crappy building technique. Well, maybe you can do this without any problem with Lego pieces, but we have problems doing it with those pieces. We have a clutch power which is a bit higher than we are used to from Lego pieces. But I think it also might be not that easy to interlock those many hinges with Lego pieces. So yeah, they simply shouldn't have let us connect these pieces so late in the building instructions. Maybe it's easier to connect only the black pieces first to what? It isn't there any longer. Yeah, to that here. And then add all the other stuff of the rear. I will try it. So I'm almost done with my repair job. I still have to look for some pieces which are scattered somewhere on the ground. But have a look at this clip here. You can see there got some tension on it during our little accident, and because of this, the piece now is slightly broken. You can see a white mark there, and I think you can also see a little crack on its right side. There isn't much clutch power left any longer. It's fine if you don't touch it, but this isn't really cool. Not the best quality. So I have assembled the hinges, which means there isn't one part on the ship and the other part on this segment here. I think it's easier doing it that way when the hinges are already pre-assembled, and now I will try to push this part against all those studs here, and hopefully everything will just interlock. Yeah, I think this was the right decision. Connecting those two segments with each other in this way isn't an easy task either, but it's way easier than doing it like shown in the instructions. Step 323. We are closing a huge part of the lower deck, and for that we simply place the segment like here. And you can see that it's only connected with 4 studs, so obviously this is supposed to be able to be taken out again. But sadly, it's quite a narrow fit. So when we get it in there somehow, yeah, now it sits in there. Then, yeah, it's a really sturdy connection. It's not so easy to take off that part again. I think the easiest way if we could simply use this little boat here as a handle, but no, we can't. Let's try if we can use the stand of that boat to take this piece off again. But it's not as easygoing as it is intended, I guess. Oh, now it works way better. I think you simply have to do it a few times. It's now the 3rd time that I have removed the top again, and it seems now it's working quite fine. Step 340. We are building these little cannon-like things here, and I think for that we are using an illegal building technique. So we get this 1x1 round brick here, and into that we stick this pin-ball combination. But I don't think that this is allowed because the end of the pin doesn't peek through, so the pin can't really decompress again, if you get what I mean. Step 347. We are adding some decoration to our ship, and the decoration consists mainly of these rigid hoses. But have a look here. How much of this is, just left over? Here is the clip, and all of this here is a bit too much. The rigid hoses are supposed to be 17 stats long. I checked it. They are really 17 stats long, just as mentioned in the instructions. 17 stats. But for some reason, when I connect them to the build, then it doesn't look like this. Have a look here. There's almost nothing left over, but I have left over several centimeters. I'm not going to cut this because I had a look at the product videos, at the product photos. For once, BlueBrixx really seem to have uploaded real photos of their build, and there it looks the same, just like here in my build. Step 348. In this step we have to place 2 chains, and just typically for a special set, these chains are not pre-assembled. We have to assemble them ourselves. So I counted all the links, and yeah, I counted that we need 21 links per chain plus 2 of those, end pieces. So the thing is, I don't think that I have enough links. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Those are only 20 links plus the 2 ends. But I need 21 for one chain. And for some reason, this thing here even is incomplete. There are a lot of links missing. And this thing here was loose in the back, so I guess it belongs here. At least I have both the ends, but there are not enough links. And even if this thing was complete, then 2 links would be missing in total. I will have to look if I have some spare pieces in my collection, which I can use for a chain which is as long as shown in the instructions. Well, I didn't find any of those pieces in the right color, but at least I did find a chain in my collection. And yeah, it comes only with 19 links, but this will have to do. Step 411. We have started with building the masts. And have a look here at the inventory box. For some reason, the length of the Technic axle moved out of the box. Well, at least we got the length. We use Technic axles of different length in the set, so it's really necessary to have the right length here. It takes quite a lot of time to build such a mast, and yeah, have a look at this huge ship. This mast here is definitely the smallest of the masts. The other 2 masts are way bigger. I will have to spend a lot of time for this, I fear. Oh, we have a problem. We are supposed to use an axle which is 6 stats long, but there is no axle with a length of 6 stats left. I even think we haven't used one of that length at all. The axle which comes nearest to this length is an axle with the length of 7 stats. And when we have a look at the inventory, at the end of the instructions, I hope this is the correct page. No, it isn't. Let's see, where are the black pieces? Yeah, here you can see we got an axle of the length of 4 and 5 and then 7. There is no axle with a length of 6 stats in the set included. Strange. Well, then I guess I have to use the axle with the length of 7 stats. Step 418. We are going to close the rest of the lower decks now with this huge segment here. And well, as you can see, there are only a few stats, so we should be able to take off this whole segment again sometime later when we want to. But when you remember, I had problems with placing the first of those segments, the one here in the front. It was quite, oops. I wanted to say that this was quite a narrow fit, but it seems placing this one here is a bit easier. Hopefully we can take it off again as easily as we were able to place it here. Have a look at this. This is total crap. I connected the strings and now the mast, it's bent heavily. Well, I thought maybe I didn't interlock all the pieces correctly. Maybe I didn't slide every piece down correctly down the axle. But no. Well, I disassembled everything and I tried to reassemble it. And while that, I even broke one of the axles. Damn it. That's terrible. So I used one of the other axles. I will see what I'm going to do when I build one more mast, or maybe the third mast will be my problem, but that's a problem for my future self. But now what to do here? This can't stay like this. This looks terrible. I guess I will modify the build slightly. I will not listen to the building instructions. I'm going to place the strings one plate lower, and I hope that this solves our problem here. The connection isn't as sturdy now as it used to be. The strings are only held in place by one single stud, but at least the mast isn't bent any longer. That was just terrible. Oh, and I also just noticed that this connection here is complete nonsense. It doesn't work. There is a plate missing. When we connect those pieces as intended, we are just going to bend the whole mast again. Yeah, those pieces are not allowed to stay together. I had much fun with the set so far, but in the end it turns out that it isn't the best set. I hope that the whole experience isn't going down the drain now. Step 487. We have placed the second mast, and have a look at how huge this thing is. Wow, it's really tall. Well, the second mast doesn't have the problem with the strings. It's quite the opposite. The strings are almost a bit too loose, but it's really better to have too loose strings than strings which are so much under tension that you can't really, have a mast which doesn't get bent. So I'm absolutely fine with this mast here. The only problem was connecting it to the ship, because there was, I think, about this length of one of the axles was still free, and we had to push it down into the ship. So below this round brick here, there's such a long piece of axle, which we have to push into hollow round bricks below deck. And you can imagine that this isn't really possible, at least not with the axles BlueBrixx uses. So what I did was to simply remove the plate below this round brick here, slide it down the axle, and doing also the same with all the other round bricks below deck. And then simply connecting the whole mast with also the part of the mast which is below deck at the same time to the ship. Alright, then I guess now it's time for the final mast. And this means I will have to see if I can find a solution for my problem with the broken axle. Luckily, the axle is broken at exactly the position in which we are using round bricks. So the broken part is supported by studs. And I hope that because of that, it won't be too much of a problem that the axle is broken. Step 542. So we have built another mast and it's time to connect it with the ship. But once again, we have a bit of the axle down here, which we have to slide in one of those holes. And below that hole, it isn't really visible here, but below that hole there is another bit of the mast. Yeah, you can see it here. It's it's simply round bricks into which we have to slide the axle. And I'm quite sure that this is more or less impossible to do with those axles. They are just a bit, I don't know, too big. You can slide individual pieces on those axles, but several pieces at once, this is just impossible. The tolerances aren't good enough. But this means I have to, get this plate here, slide it on there, and then slide all the individual pieces of the mast below the deck on there. And this also means that I have to disassemble the whole part here, because otherwise I see no way how I can get the plate out of there. Well, at least the good news is that it seems that my broken axle seems to be sturdy enough. At least so far my mast doesn't fall apart. But now it's time to disassemble the whole stuff here. Damn. Surprisingly, this didn't take too much time. It was a rather quick fix, and now I have all three masts attached to my ship. But I think I'm going to change how I have connected the strings here to that mast. I just don't like how this looks. I guess I will change my fix a little. What I'm going to do is that I will try to remove one of those plates here. I guess this plate here. Or maybe that plate here. No, I will remove the plate from here and then I will put it below this round tile. And then I think I can simply place the pieces here as they are shown in the instructions, so that it looks more like one of these other platforms here. Yeah, I think this is better. Now the whole thing is a bit more sturdy and it just looks like the other platforms. Of course, now this part here is a bit thicker, so I have placed the plate from down there up here, and because of that we get now 2 plates here, which is 1 plate more than on the other platforms, but I think this is the best solution I can come up with. Steps 543 and 544. It doesn't work at all what they want us to do here. They want us to place strings, and I don't know, the strings are just too short, or maybe the masts are too far away from each other, or simply the whole build has got other dimensions than in the instructions. This just doesn't work. Have a look at how heavily the masts bend. This looks awful. Yeah, I guess I'm going to ignore the strings for now. I will not place them. I will continue with the sails, and maybe I will find a solution for the strings later. Step 547. Have a look. One of the sails comes with stains. Ugh. Step 552. I have placed all the sails, and with having placed the strings in this step here, we have completed the building instructions final step. So, I really hope that I have used the correct sails, because there are a lot of sails left over, but those are smaller sails, and I simply used the biggest sails, since this is such a huge ship. Yeah. It looks alright, I think, so if these are not the correct sails, then it doesn't matter either, because it looks okay. As you can see, I also have added the strings, but not as shown as in the instructions. You simply can't do it like shown in the instructions. This doesn't work. So yeah, I went a bit freestyle. You can see here I added that string opposite to this string here. I didn't use this thing at all. And also the mast here had a little gap, and because of that I added these 2 rings here, which were spare parts of the set, so that we do not have to see the black axle. Then I went quite freestyle with this string here. Over here I even had to modify the mast. So you can see I placed several of the rings here, and I put this part up here, and it's held in place by a 1x1 round plate with open stat. And this isn't the correct way to do it. It is not as shown in the instructions like this, but I think this is an okay-ish solution. It looks fine, doesn't it? Well, I'm not done with my build yet, because I still have to find a solution to add the ladders. You remember I had missing pieces, and because of that I couldn't place it like shown in the instructions. Here we got the leftover pieces, and I think I will find a solution with these pieces here. I think I have found a good solution, so I will use these pieces here to replace the 2 missing pieces. And this should be like putting 2 of the missing pieces next to each other. So yeah, that's all we have to do. Let's place this here and this there. Et voila, Now I just have to place them in there. Alright, then let's have a look at the completed build. And wow, it's huge. It's really huge. Especially when you sit in front of it, it looks really tall. Have a look, it almost touches my lamp. I have almost no knowledge about seafaring, and I also don't really care about it, I have to say. I'm a proud landlubber, but I get that all of this can be a very interesting subject. I absolutely understand why people care about all the different sails there are and, yeah, all the other details. It's just not my world, so please be kind when I describe the things in a less technical but more childish way. I simply don't know the correct terminology. As far as I could find out, this model here comes in some regards closer to the original ship than the ships used for the movies. Nevertheless, there are some severe inaccuracies. The amount of masts should be correct, and I also think the general shape of the hull is alright too. The model is probably a bit too colorful, but I think it is still acceptable. It's not overly unrealistic. So let's have a closer look. We got a lot of those little cannons with cannonballs, but I think those cannonballs are a bit too huge for those cannons. Do they fit in there? I don't think so. Well, then we get this thing here. I don't know. Is this to control the rudder? Or do we use the wheels to steer? I don't know. Sorry. I'm really not a nautical person. Yeah. Then we get here several trapdoors. Over here we can get below deck. There is a ladder leading down there. And here we got a little boat. I think here we can drop and also retrieve the anchors. So there is an anchor on the left side and also on the opposite side. Here is the ship's bell. I really like the construction. That's a cool idea how to build this kind of stuff. Then here in the back we got some cool ornaments. And we can look through the windows inside the captain's cabin. I don't know. Yeah, and also here in the front we got some decorative stuff. In the instructions, those rigid hoses should end more or less here, but yeah, they are just too long. I didn't cut them because the length was identical to the length shown in the instructions, so I don't know what they did here, but the BlueBrixx product photos also show these things here being too long, so I guess it's correct the way I did it here. Well, and let's have a look on the stuff which is a bit taller. I think the amount of masts should be correct, but at least for me, the masts appear to be a bit thin, don't they? I would have used these 2x2 round bricks all the way up to the platforms. I think that would have looked better. And also, I think it's possible that the platforms are a bit way too up there. Maybe a lower position would have been more realistic. The shrouds look quite strange without the horizontal connections, so that way it's very difficult to climb up there. And I also think there should be more shrouds up here, there, and there. I guess in general the rigging just is way off. I don't know much about riggings, but it looks as if our model has way too less strings. This doesn't look like a real sailing ship, does it? As I said before, I'm not a nautical person, but I guess the sails look fine. Maybe instead of the second sail, or yeah, the lower sail of that mast here, that sail here should be bigger and maybe in this shape here. And I guess we also could have placed some of these sails between the masts. And maybe the sails here in the front are too small. But that's all stuff I don't really know. Well, what else? Yeah, we haven't talked about the stand. This is something I actually quite like. It's a simple stand, but it's absolutely sturdy and I think it looks quite elegant. It does its job perfectly fine. Okay, then let's have a look below deck. For that, we have to remove those strings here and also on the opposite side. And I think we also have to remove those wheels here. And then we should be able to pull up this whole segment here with the complete mast. And on this side here, we have to remove the boat. And I think then we can pull the boat's stand and we are also able to remove this whole segment. So I have removed the segment on the right side. And yeah, we can have a look below deck. Let me place some more light up here. Yeah. Here, there's a little table with a carrot and a cheese on a plate. Pans and pots. Mugs and some glasses. Fish. Let's turn the build around. I think we can see an oven in the corner. Yeah, we need more light. Now you can see it. Some barrels. More barrels. And yeah, there's quite a lot of stuff going on down there. Of course, this is not realistic. This looks almost like a playset, but it's neat. And I also like that we got several levels. So you can see there is a ladder leading up this little level here, and then the other ladder leads up deck. Okay, then let me just remove the other segment here. I think I also have to remove some of the cannons for that. Alright, here I guess this is the captain's bed. Here is some of his stuff. This might be a rug. A little table with a glass. I don't know if the golden things are supposed to be coins. Another table. Here you can store more stuff. Some beds for the crew or some officers, I don't know. Yeah, you can see it's really not made in a realistical way, but this part of the build is cool as a playset. In general, it's a display set, but I think you can also use it as a playset somehow. I like that we have built, or at least try to recreate the ship's skeleton. So you can see here all those wooden beams. They are curved. Yeah, it really looks like the construction of a ship. Okay, then let me close up all these huge holes now. I think this is a nice build, but there are definitely also some more things I don't like about this model besides the inaccuracies which I already showed you. I don't like, for example, how the hull is made here in the front. I think this just looks a bit, too clunky. This doesn't really look elegant. But I wouldn't have a better idea how to build this, so that is that. Also, the underside, I really hoped that we would add also stuff to the underside in some of the later steps, but we didn't. We didn't complete the hull down here. I guess because of this, you might be able to use it as a playset. So you can put it down from the stand and slide it on the table. Maybe this isn't possible either because of, you can see here that in the middle, at least 1 or 2 rows of plates stick out, so this might not be possible either. I don't know. I think this was meant to be a display model, so I don't get why they didn't complete the hull down here. And then also for my taste, the deck just looks a bit empty. I don't know why, but I have the feeling that there isn't enough stuff going on it. Yeah, it just looks slightly dull. Assembling the masts was no fun at all. And yeah, the rigging is very problematic in particular. It just couldn't be placed as shown in the instructions. And yeah, the axles for the masts are not so easy to handle. There's just something wrong with their tolerances. They are slightly off. But all the other bricks work totally fine. Sadly, many of them come with huge and ugly injection holes, so some injection points are fine. But when we have a look over here, there you can see these huge crater-like holes, and that's simply not nice to look at. I also don't like that, we used a lot of special molds, which are visible in the end. You can see here, those are not normal pieces. I think also this piece here, this wedge, it's a tile which doesn't exist by the Lego company. You can't place a normal wedge here. You have to place this tile wedge. It's a special piece. And yeah, I think also here the construction in the back uses some special pieces. Yeah, I'm just not a fan of special pieces. For me, special pieces are fine. Special molds when you use them to circumvent protected pieces, like connecting several special molds with each other, and then you get something which looks like a standard Lego piece. But when you use them for things which you can't recreate with standard pieces, then I'm just not a fan of that. Very annoyingly, there are also some pieces which are missing. And this just is something you really want to experience. After all these years, BlueBrixx quality control still leaves so much to be desired. It's just really annoying. Well, let's talk about something positive. Building the hull was really fun, and I spent several days building this build, well, several evenings. It's nothing which you can assemble in just one afternoon. Also, creating the flag was quite cool. So first we did build the English flag, which we then turned into the Union Jack by adding those blue tiles. Normally I like huge builds, but I think this one here is just a bit too huge for me. It's gigantic. And yeah, I guess half the size would have been totally sufficient. In this scale here, it just looks as if there is a lack of detail. I don't know. As I said before, I think the deck looks a bit empty and there's not enough going on here. For me, it just looks a little boring, but this might simply be my personal taste. The sails, on the other hand, look very impressive. I absolutely like them, and they are the reason why I bought the set. But I think without the sails, the ship wouldn't have looked interesting enough for me to buy it. It's a fine model, a sturdy display model which also can be played with, I guess. But for me personally, it doesn't look interesting enough in this huge size to keep the set in my collection.